Good morning. It is an exciting day here on Inspiration 1390. It's not too often that I get some celebrities to come on in the room with me today. And from the Black Panther to Girls Trip, they've done it all. I'm talking about Regina Hall and Sterling K. Brown. How you doing?
You're doing fantastic.
Thank
Good
you for
morning.
having us
Absolutely.
today.
Good. You came to the Jesus station.
Yeah, amen.
Love Jesus.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
With all your heart. You know how to get your praise on.
Absolutely. Praise God.
But I had a chance to watch the new movie that's coming out, Hunk for Jesus. The title even drew me in. I'm like, Hunk for Jesus. Okay, where are we going with this? But as we talk about, the culture, the church culture and things like that that's addressed in this movie, can you tell me about your personal experience with church? Did you guys grow up in church, or what has church life meant to you in any type of way?
Most definitely grew up in the church from St. Louis, Missouri. Went to big churches, small churches. When you went away from college, you missed church. But my college had a black church on campus. But then you watch the televangelists as well, so you can feel like you got something. You feeding yourself in whatever way that you can when you can't actually be there in person. Have a deep, abiding faith and love for the divine. Me and God, solid.
Yeah, I like that. And Regina?
Yeah. Well, my grandmother, my mother's from down south, so my grandmother, when I would go to her, visit her in the summer, I went to a Baptist church. My mom went to a Christian non-denominational church, and then I went to a Catholic school.
Okay.
So,
All over.
it was all over. But, I mean, I would say all the intention is the same. You know what I mean? It's all focused on God, and also kind of the understanding of how that connection to God works. And it's slightly different for all of them, but I think there's a degree that's similar in all of them too.
Yeah. So Hung for Jesus, it's a satire, and it's a comedy. So when the church folks go to see it, I just want them to laugh, to get into it,
We appreciate
to
that.
understand what's really happening in this movie. Regina, you are the first lady. Sterling, you are the pastor of the church, and so much messaging in the movie. Let's talk about the First Lady hat. Folks got to see it to really understand where we're going with this, but when you think about the symbolism of just the First Lady hat and how that really meant so much to the culture of church, but you guys give it a fresh spin, the Church Lady hat. Just talk a little bit about it, but not without giving the movie away.
Well, I mean, listen, it is very significant, the hat, hats in the church and in that culture.
Crowns.
Exactly. And so sometimes, the First Lady and the pastor don't agree on the crown, and but it is also symbolic of choice. And as I'm looking at, I am looking at Sterling.
I also think that it's indicative of a certain level of status. Like the crown that you play when you are in the sanctuary sort of signifies something to everyone
money,
else
and the
around.
money that they pay, without talking. It's also a sign of their prosperity.
Right. But first, people have to see this. This hat that's in the movie has a lot of significance, and it brings some turbulence in the relationship.
There's some
it's a little bickering that goes on, but we also must address the scandal that's hit the church. That during this scandal, it of course makes the congregation leave, and so you guys are trying to find ways, these gimmicks. I'll say gimmicks that you put out there to try to win the folks back to Christ. And so there's a message, Pastor Sterling, that you tried to give, and then your wife, First Lady Regina, there, she says, you need to come with it. You're not doing it. So that moment for you, how were you able to pull that off? What was on the inside that made us draw to you on the outside?
So without trying to give too much away, because the scandal, we kind of like folks to be able to discover exactly what the nature of it is throughout as they watch the movie. But you have somebody who's at a low point in terms of performing, I said performing, and that's probably what he's doing, but preaching to over 20,000 people, and then all of a sudden it's empty. And so, like, what is it that he needs to say? What's the mea culpa to own up to the thing that he caused that will bring people back? And so I think he does something deep inside in terms of acknowledging his sinful nature, because he without sin cast the first stone, but recognizing that, like, even though I am this, I'm still able to be used by the divine. I'm still a vessel, and I'm still here to save souls. And so he doesn't talk about the scandal directly. And I think his wife is like, listen, I don't know, this sugarcoating and sort of going around the outside is what we need to be doing right now.
Well, his wife had just experienced something outside that he wasn't aware of.
Yes.
And she's aware of how the people feel.
They're not happy.
No. That's a nice way to put that.
Yeah, and even in your relationship, there is a sex scene. I'll say, yeah,
There is a sex
that's
scene.
in the movie, but you even witness the turbulence that's also in your marriage, because sometimes in church, folks try to cover things up. They want
do.
everybody to see you looking happy and holy and righteous and that sort of things. But there is relationship trouble.
If we had an Instagram, I think people would be like, oh man, they are goals. Trinity and Lee Curtis, hashtag Black Love, they're great. And so it's a really interesting lesson in terms of how people present themselves publicly and what we actually have to deal with on a granular level to make marriage work.
Or what we're accepting. I mean, I think for Trinity, what happens in that scene shows you that's and that's not the first time. That feels like that's a fundamental issue.
It's tough.
It's tough, yeah. And First Lady, when you go to your mom, that's a whole other situation, and because your mom also a First Lady.
Yes.
And so when you go to her, I mean, I don't know if you were expecting to hear what she told you, but it also speaks to the culture of the church. Like you got to pray this thing through, but sometimes it's a little deeper than that.
Yeah.
So just even talk to that scene about you reaching out to your mom, and then she's like, "Girl, you just got to pray through this thing," just like I did with my husband, your daddy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, to the grave.
To the grave. Yeah. I think if there were ever a chance for there to be a permission to make a different decision, she would have hoped that could have come from her mother. But I think that scene is where she makes a different decision, and the mother is saying, look, this clearly is right, because look at the rest of this, right? You are that man that blessed with that man who has blessed you with so many things. And for her, I think for the mother and for Trinity, that you can't divorce. Breaking up is not an option, because you aren't breaking up with God, and there is a covenant, and covenants are not broken.
Right.
Yeah. Choices are so interesting when they're also governed in part by like, what will people think, what will people say, how does it look, etc. And so you're hardly able to operate as an individual. You have to think about all of these other things.
Well,
and that's
you
a
think
lot.
about it first.
Yeah. It's a lot to carry.
Yeah.
Oftentimes.
It's very eye-opening when you watch this movie. Because, I mean, growing up in church, like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I understand it.
I'm curious, without giving too much away, what is the feeling you're left with at the end of the movie? I'm
like, okay, this is real. I've seen this happen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And I'm glad some of these things are being exposed in this way.
It's
helping us to learn and to live better.
I mean, I think that's the great thing about what you just said, is because we always felt like in the script, and the writer, the director, their intention, they do love the church.
Absolutely.
And so it is certainly not to put anything down.
Right. To make fun of.
Yeah, at all. And so I think they really wanted to show the complexity and the humanity of the situations, the characters, the dynamic, what the church is, what it represents, like all of it.
I think that happened. And before y'all get out of here, the never would have made it moment. Oh my God. First of all, the song never would have made it. Come on. That is everybody's song
Come
anyway.
on now.
But that moment, I was like, whoa, where are we going here? You did it. I'm like, oh my God. Being able to interpret that moment, like, what was that like for both of y'all, that scene? Like, did you have to do that over and over again, or did you knock it out the first time?
That's all. Wait, you talking about, that's Regina, the praise mom?
Yeah, the never would have made it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it a couple times. You know, that scene before where he and I are talking, and I just can't. She can't believe he would you know, there, you know.
She has a feeling about praise
Yes.
mime and whether or not she should be the person to execute it.
As a first lady.
Yeah,
Right.
as a first lady.
Yeah, and I do it alone.
Yeah.
You know, he's not there doing it with me. So, so he asks a lot of Trinity.
He
You know,
does.
he does. He asks a lot of Trinity.
And I think in that particular moment, I don't think he realizes just how much he's asking from your perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But throughout, I mean, the accepting the scan, throughout, there's all, I mean, I think, you know, I think she understands that. You know what I
Right.
mean? But it is, that was a lot.
That was a lot.
That was a lot.
That was a line. There was a line.
Uh-huh.
Lee Curtis crossed the line. He does other things to cross the line, but like that was the straw.
Like, I was like, let me come and snatch you up. Let me come and snatch you up. But the title, Honk for Jesus.
Honk for Jesus,
Honk for
save
Jesus.
your soul.
Save your soul. And there is some honking that goes on in the movie, so
Yes,
people
there
know exactly, you know. Honk for Jesus, the title. When folks hear that title, what should they think?
Well, you know what's funny? When we were holding the signs out on the streets in the city of Atlanta, people would give us so many honks.
It's true.
It's just a good old-fashioned
Didn't know,
roadside
had no
ministry.
idea it was us. They just saw the sign.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
No.
Oh, yeah.
No, so
Just
many.
honking for like,
Just
I
honk
love
for
Jesus,
Jesus,
I'll
yeah.
honk. You know, that's what it's about, right?
Uh-huh.
The save your soul part is also that Lee Curtis is someone who's actively trying to save his own soul.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Throughout the course of this
church.
film, and save his church and whatnot. So I think people should be prepared to laugh
Yeah.
and be prepared to say, like, coming from the place of love that we do with the movie, you can love something
Yes.
and still critique it.
Yeah.
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 And Regina, your final thoughts?
Yeah, I believe that. I think you're gonna laugh and smile, and that you will be uncomfortable
Yeah.
as well, and hopefully you will walk out and you will think and perhaps talk, and it will kind of, you know, evoke a conversation
Amen.
that could create, you know, evolution. You know, all things have to evolve at some point.
Good
so.
word.
Yeah, good stuff there. I'm glad you guys were the one chosen to do this movie.
Thank you
Well,
very much.
thank you.
Because you guys did it well. I said, okay. I said, well, you know, when they sent me the email, I was like, okay, who's coming? Yes, come on in the room. Congratulations, Honk for Jesus. Looking forward to it in theaters in September. And, of course, we're going to celebrate it here on Inspiration 1390 because we love Jesus.
Yes,
Yes,
we do.
we do. Yes,
Thank
we
you so
do.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.